Chris Richardson. I am running for Congress in the District of 6 of California. That's in the lower part of the Sacramento area and it's Placer County. So we've got a good start on this. This is the third of the presentations I've done. Let me go ahead and check this so we don't bother everybody. Okay, we won't bother anybody. Now, the next magical trick is, let me sit on this table. It will take my way. Okay. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about in this presentation was what would I do if I got elected? Well, one of the first things I would do is do a charter review on all the three-letter acronym agencies of the government. The CIA, the FBI, CDC, FDA, and some of the four-letter increments, such as NIH. These are all supposed to be working in our best interests. Unfortunately, they don't seem to be working that well. They are not following their charters. And had they actually been working for the people, their actions would have been very different in this pandemic. We have done this by electing people who are not reliable, people who have been advocates to be bought by corporate interests. I'm not planning on being one of those. Now, that might mean that this is the only time I ever get into office, but hey, I'm going to make it count if I can. And I'm going to see if we can at least show light on these different agencies who are supposed to be our servants, and they are not being our servants. And they're up for the highest bidder. And unfortunately, they've been bought. And a lot of our media has been bought as well. And, we need to have some legislation that limits the activities of media. We're not talking about limiting speech. That's totally different. It's important that we have speech and we have discourse and people who have differences of opinions and can come forward and express those opinions, and then let the observer be the best arbiter of what I really should have gotten that monitor out of the picture. There, that's much better. But at any rate, after that, now that would have been enough for one, one campaign, but my other is to drum up interest in science, not just science, but space science. I was a marine biologist at one time, and I know what wonderful things we can do when we put our mind to it, and I know what horrible things we can do when we put our mind to it. And unfortunately, the people of ill will seem to have more money than anybody. And so by doing that, we have made the good guy the bad guy, which is really weird. We need to make sure that the people that are serving us are actually working in the best interests of the people, you know. And we've had our government cut back our rights and our freedoms, and I want to get them back. One of the freedoms is the ability to vote for who you want. Not this A or B, which one you want? It doesn't matter. There's no question that there is no blue and there is no red. There is only imperial purple. Doesn't matter which one you choose, you're going to get imperial purple. Because you have been worked out of the equation completely. Now, one way of doing that is get rid of the primaries. The primaries are a laugh. They are unconstitutional, and they leave you with 2 candidates. Well, there's a good way of doing that called ranked choice voting. Most of the world does this, but we do not, because it's controlled by the oligarchs who run the country. And they don't want this to happen. In fact, it was Jerry Brown who vetoed legislation that would have given California ranked choice voting. Who in the U.S. is using it? Well, how about Maine and Massachusetts? They've been doing it for almost a decade now. And they keep coming up with a good set of candidates. Basically what happens is that all your candidates are on a sheet. You choose 4 that you would like to see. This is the first one I want to see, and if he doesn't get elected, I want to see this guy. And if he doesn't get elected, I want to see this guy, and I can tolerate this guy. Pretty easy. Gets rid of the spoiler effect. So what do we got going now? Let's also take a look at the space program. Space program, NASA. We haven't been back to the moon in a long time. And you know, there's been an experiment going on the moon for the last 50 years. And there's nobody up there monitoring it. And we really need to get back up there and start reading the punctures that came through the foil that was on the landers, the lander platforms that the excursion units took off out of and flew back to the command unit and flew back to Earth. So they've been out there suffering damage from the solar wind, also the micrometeors and things like that, been puncturing these things like crazy. And we would be well advised to take a look at those foils and see how much damage has been done. That gives us an idea of how we can build survivable, sustainable living quarters on the moon. Now, We never quite made it back. Uh, we did not make it back in 50 years. And what's interesting is China has already gone around to the backside of the moon and landed. Now, what are they doing back there? I don't know. But I sure would like to partner with them, find out what the heck is going on, and see if we can come up with a way of actually having a sustainable colony up there, maybe several. What a concept. Now, what we should have had was a means of actually excavating and finding lava tubes. Lava tubes on the surface of the moon are going to be worth their weight in gold. And some of the things that we can do when we get down there, get up there, when we get up there, is seal some of those. Now we can hang lighting in there. Energy on the moon is easy to get. And if we feel as though we need more, there's a little thing called a thorium reactor that is quite safe. And we should have been using them instead of breeder reactors for a long time, because breeder reactors are available so that you can make weapons with. You can't make weapons with a thorium reactor. Isn't that too bad? I think that's a great idea, though. And, once we get ZPE, that's zero-point energy, extracted from the flying saucers that they've done in the late 40s, 50s, and 60s, and retrofit them. But this is the dark web that is making sure that none of this information gets out to the public. What would happen if zero-point energy was available? A little box about like that and that would run your car for the life of your car. Never have to fill it up. No gas, don't have to plug it in. It just runs. And, the folks that got here on their own and crashed, and we recovered their spacecraft back in the late 40s. Their equipment is still there at Wright Pat, and it's also being reverse engineered at some of the skunk works. And it's being hidden from us because the oil industry doesn't want to have it known. And once we have zero-point energy, energy ceases to be a problem. Now, in the absence of that, we can still do wondrous things. And the neat part is getting up there one time, with materials, will make an incredible investment, because sending stuff back to Earth is easy. Now, the Earth is a deep gravity well. The moon is a shallow gravity well. And the thing is that it takes a lot of energy to get stuff up and send it over to the moon. Now, the neat thing about the moon is no atmosphere. We don't want an atmosphere. except in the lava tubes or underground. And our living quarters on the moon will be under at least 6 to 8 feet of regolith. That's the obsidian soil that lays over the top of the moon. Now, some of the things that have been going on the moon in the last several million years, as it has been a constant rain of metals for for centuries. And frankly, when people start looking for meteorites in Montana, well, they're picking up the stuff that came in through the atmosphere, got kind of baked and pretty well mangled, and then hit the ground. And on the moon, it just comes in ballistically and gets hit, stops in the regolith. It's very easy to find. And setting up solar furnaces is fairly easy to do. Hey, we got a wide open nuclear furnace 93 million miles away that stays on all the time. Now, any spot on the moon is in sunlight at least 14 days before it rotates around to the other side of the moon. Now, doesn't mean that you can see what's on the other side of the moon, because it's tidally locked with its orbit around us. There's basaltic rock that, quite frankly, can be used once it's melted to make basaltic thread. And you can use basaltic thread to build re-entry devices. One-way shipping containers from the moon back to Earth. And the thing is, you don't need a drop of oil or fuel to send them back. Now, like I said, the moon is a shallow gravity well. Getting over the gravity well for the moon and then into the gravity well of Earth is easy. Just throw it over the wall and down it comes. Now, the thing is there are several mechanisms that we want to use to, shall we say, slow down those re-entry vehicles. Now, they're coming in pretty darn fast, but the thing is that we have, and they're made out of basaltic thread. Now, there's several things that we can do to slow the packages down. Interesting thing, we should be able to land any of these re-entry vehicles on any half-kilometer of space on Earth. And some of the things that we could use to slow down the process is, well, I don't think that's a good seating arrangement, is a basaltic thread streamers. Now, essentially think of an egg. Now, one of the things I would love to see built on the moon is a solar-powered mass driver. What's a mass driver? Well, a mass driver is a magnetic railgun. Not a railgun, it's like a piece of rail that you can just lickety-split, throw this thing out in one direction, and you can angle it such that you end up clearing the gravity well of the moon, and then return the equipment back to the Earth. Now, a couple of things. On the moon, there is also ice. And there are comets that come zipping by from time to time from the Oort cloud, and this is fairly common stuff. But there's many oceans worth of icebergs out there in the Oort cloud. And we can certainly slingshot something out there to go looking for these ice modules and, decelerate them back to the moon, or at least where we can put them into what they call the Lagrange locations. There's 5 Lagrange points, and the 6th one is, I forget, but anyway, there's a bunch of them. And these are orbit stable locations around the moon where we can bring those comets in to even crash them onto the surface of the moon if we need more ice. But, like I said, there's a lot of iron and other metals available that we could build what I call a tea kettle decelerator. And it's basically a flat box that fits on the belly of the re-entry device. And you can use the iron to accelerate the unit off of the moon. Now, by doing that, you first of all fill the box with ice. Now, the thing is that once you plunge into the atmosphere, that becomes your belly tank. And you're punching into the atmosphere, heats that up. And in front, there are vents that will slow the product, the package down, and also create a mist in front of the re-entry vehicle. And so you can use that to essentially cool down the ship, as well as get the re-entry vehicle oriented properly. And that's the next level of deceleration, is streamers off the back of the re-entry vehicle. Now, in doing that, you're creating drag once you bite into some atmosphere, and that helps orient the device so that you get the most out of the tea kettle as it plunges into the atmosphere. Now, once you get down far enough, you can either open parachutes or you can open parasails, all woven out of basaltic thread. It has an incredible tensile strength, and it also has an incredible heat resistance. So, we have the opportunity to actually generate a package that can slow the product down coming in from the moon. And this is incredibly valuable. Now, what would you bring back from the moon? Well, some of the things that you might want up there would be food. How about that? Well, we had talked about setting up, atmosphere bubbles in the lava tubes on the moon, and by blocking them off at either end, you can fill that environment with atmosphere to melt more ice, and it doesn't have to just be water ice. It could be nitrogen, any kind of the gases that we want to use. Now, the thing is that we can actually start growing crops on the moon. Wouldn't that be interesting? Guess what? No plant parasites. Wow. That plus, you can control the lighting. So you can vary the day for the crop. And you can also use a irrigation system to keep the environment kosher and working. So this eliminates a lot of the weight that you have to keep boosting out of the Earth environment. And when Elon Musk wants to go to Mars, we can set up Mars to be an IKEA, to have all the prefab modules that they need for different pieces of equipment already positioned on Mars, waiting for them. Not only that, but one of the nice things about the moon, never a cloudy day. We can launch anytime. And using a match driver, we got an awful lot of control there. And we can get things there pretty doggone rapid. We don't have to lift it out of Earth gravity well. That is a huge savings. And there are other things, such as, how about minerals? Rare earth minerals? Well, you can't get more rare earth than the moon. And what's cool is you can build a re-entry vehicle that is not going to Earth. It's going into a solar ellipse. It's going to go through the heliosphere of the sun, heat up, and basically spin in order to get this thing rotating so that it separates out the metals by weight. And you slow it down enough and let it take its time getting back to the moon. And you can either crash it onto the moon, or you can put it into one of the Lagrange points and then go figure out what the heck you want to do with it. And there's a lot of different things that we can do with this. One of the things that has been an engineering nightmare forever has been the creation of hollow ball bearings. We should be able to do that. While this slag is going through space, coming back to the moon, it can be extracting parts of it and evaluating the metals that are there and start extruding it in sphericals, especially if we have outgassing. If we have gas under pressure, that's another energy source that we can take care of. That's going to make life a lot easier for us. The material science alone is going to redo our whole economy. And it's time that we started learning about that. Okay, well, this is it for this go-around. And we'll see you in the next one.